All right, so we're going to dive into it today. We got a bunch of little things we got to do. I want to show you two more techniques about working inside of ZBrush. One of them is this, and one of them is making your own brushes to get kind of the same effect, to see if that's what you want, if you'd rather. So this is with an alpha that I've made that we use, and there's some settings and stuff I want to set up with you. So to get an alpha or something that I wanted, all I had to do was go on the internet, of course, and find some kind of pattern. I said Celtic pattern, I think it was my search, Celtic knot pattern. And I looked around and I found, there's a few of them out there. What I really want, though, is something that was like this, actually. So it was all white and black. There's nothing in between, because that way I can get to the knot part without fighting and aliasing or any kind of soft edges stuff. I mean, you can do anything, it just means there's more work to it. So I took this and I went inside of Photoshop, and inside of Photoshop I isolated it. Now I think I grabbed the wrong one this time. Well, no, I guess I did do the black and white. So it was still negative being the black. So what I did first is I cropped it out, so all I needed was this, and this. So I cropped it down to that. And then I started looking at it and tried to figure out, well, I don't want these end knots right here. And if I do, I'll have to do them as a separate brush, or, because what I'm going to end up doing is making a brush that tiles this texture. So anyway, so I'm going to crop this again a little bit more. Just pull this in here and get this close to what I want. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and cut off those ends for now, just to get to what I want. So let me explain to you how ZBrush works with alphas. Basically, an alpha is a positive and a negative, right? A black and a white. And the white being the positive would be where it would extrude. And in theory, the black being the negative was where it would go against it. But the thing about ZBrush is that the black textures, the black color is actually an alpha. It's not necessarily the color you want. So if you wanted something to extrude out, you wouldn't necessarily, or bevel in, you wouldn't necessarily use this kind of texture. So it goes in and leaves it would think that, but it's wrong. What you would do is, and I'll show you over on ZBrush real quick, just so you can get an idea before I start making this, you'd use an alpha that looks like that black and white alpha, and it's white for the outie. And how do I get it to go in? I just change it to subtract, and now I'm in. So I've got in, and then if I want it to be, and I could even push Alt and it'd go out. So you can do that. And then there's ways to make it straight and clean and stuff, and we'll talk about that as we go into ZBrush a little bit more. But what we really need to do is cut this alpha down to the smallest necessary loop and make sure it loops. So for me, what I did is I took a marquee tool, so M, and just went to the top of one of these arches and pushed Shift and drag until I got to, let me move it up here, the top of another arch. So I want to kind of keep them in the same exact spot, and it looks a little bit off there, and I'm holding Shift to scale uniformly, and then the space bar as I'm holding Shift and clicking on the mouse. I haven't let go of the mouse to move it around so it's in the right spot. So I'll take something like that, and I'm going to say Control C and then Control N for new, and I'm going to say paste. And then and then we're going to go from there. Now, the other big thing about ZBrush is brushes are always top to bottom. They're never left to right. So if you make a left to right texture, let me just do this one and show you. If I do this and say crap, and it can be a PSD, you don't have to worry about collapsing it down. And I come in here and I change my brush to import, and we're going to do this again so you don't have to follow along every second for this one. But if I say import and I go crap, and I did a bunch of tests for you, so and I take that one like this, and you'll see if I pull out here and then don't have anything set up, I'm going to put that one back where it was, and I'm going to go up to a different brush and put that alpha that we just brought in on that brush. I'm going to shrink my brush down so we have a little bit more room. But if I go right to left, it's going to look like that. And there's some other reasons. Let me fix this so when I show you, you can see that what it's doing. It's doing that. Okay? And if I go up and down, you would think it would fix it. No, it's just going to go up and down. So you always want to have, including when we do the next stuff, your objects facing up, down, north, south. So when you're building this, the next thing you want to do is kind of flip it. So I'm going to go Control T and just say right click and go 90 clockwise. It doesn't matter clockwise or not clockwise. The other thing I noticed about this is it's not centered. Now, there's some, discussions, and I can show you some differences if you have it as close as you can to this edge, but you really kind of want to have all your brushes in ZBrush as centered. The longer they are and the thinner the image inside, the less resolution you get, but you can have a little bit more control over the fade off at the end. It's a dance that you're gonna have to live with, but in this case, just live with it like this, and then we'll make it work. So I'm gonna move this, and the best way to find out if it's in the center is just to come over to View and say New Guide Layout, and this way you know it's always in the center. And you go to this, and you turn this to 1, or 2 is right, 2. And then turn your 20 pixels off to 0, and there's my center line. So if I just grab this, and if I turn on my snap, it'll make it a little easier maybe. Snap. Let's see if it'll snap to where I want it to be. There. Let me see. So one of the things I did notice about this piece is that, first off, it snapped up. So I'm just going to move it over with my arrow with the V key to go to the Move tool, and I'm going to move it over with the arrow. And you'll see that they're just about right. So I'm just gonna try and center this as much as possible. I'm also gonna check the resolution, and it is a square. I mean, it's not a power of 2, we can fix that in a minute, but it's a square. And it doesn't have to be too crazy resolute, but let's go ahead and make it a little bit bigger since it's a power of 2, so we're good there. The scale is right, so we'll just go 512. It's not a huge texture, but this blur out may actually work in our advantage. Otherwise, we would put a blur in here and stuff like that. But so after you get it like this, then you want to make sure that it actually mirrors, that it actually works. So I'm going to come to Filter, I'm going to say Other, I'm going to say Offset, and in this case, I'm going to say 256, so it's perfectly even. Let me see that again. Offset. And if you didn't know, as you move these around, you'll see it move up and down. So we're just going to say 256, so it's right in the middle. And then I see this. So I could spend hours. Let me go hide those. Gosh. I'm going to clear my guides. And then I'm going to take care of this problem. How do I take care of this problem? What's the easiest way? Well, in my opinion, you do a marquee, and you grab that part right there, the offending area if you want, just in the middle, just like that much. You copy it, you paste it, and then you move it to this point. Now, what you're going to find out, and I'm going to turn off that snap now, that's probably the reason I had it off. What you're going to find out is it doesn't fit perfectly, right? So we're going to move this up, we'll get it pretty close. But there you go. This is perfect down here, but it's not perfect up there. So what do? Well, you scale it. You make it work. And once you do it once, you don't have to do it again. So I can zoom in a little bit, Alt in any time, and with your middle mouse button, you can scroll in Photoshop. I'm going to pull this up a little bit just to get it as close as I can. It looks pretty good. I'm off. So you just adjust it so it's just even. There you go. Now I've got a little bit of thing over here, but it's never going to show up. I'll zoom back out, and then I'll collapse it real quick. Control E, and then I'll try that test again and move the filter, other, offset. Look, perfect. So we're good. So our loop works. Now we need it to be the opposite though, because we really want invert. Oops, but I noticed that there. Hold on. Let me collapse that to this layer so it's all one layer, and then I can invert it. We really want the white to be the only thing that it pays attention to. We really want to tell it to ignore the black, and since black is transparency, is the best way to do it. And I fought with this over the years, trying to make it a medium gray and all this stuff, but this works the best. So I'm going to save this off, and we'll call this, and I did a bunch of, like I said, I'm going to call this 1A because 1 is the one we're working on, and I'm not sure how much bigger this one is than that one. So anyway, so now you have a perfectly repeating tiling loop, Celtic loop.